want to say, what a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Chris Hillman, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Owen Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik 86, Joshua Balsimo, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Missouri Bear, NA Literalist, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Rob H, Skeptic 936, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So a massive shout out again, thanks and appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by a couple of people in both the Discord and G Plus panels, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
I'm keeping the Sabbath because God says we must keep the Sabbath. Well, God gave that to Israel. He didn't give it to the Gentiles. That's number one. Okay? Yeah, that's
Good
true.
morning.
My wife just said your blessings don't come from works.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, morning,
Nathan,
Death
go
Man.
to your...
Morning.
hi, everyone. Nathan, I sent you a message on your private Skype channel on that section. It was show 903.
Mm-hmm.
Walking, Rumpus, Coriolis.
We got a
I've been
timestamp.
laughing. Anyway, just for you to
Oh,
have.
I see.
It was.
Got timestamps.
It's really good.
Brilliant. Okay.
I had recalled that I had sent it to you before, so I went back on our messages and found it and just added the ending part. You'll continue, boys.
We were talking about there's this video on YouTube. Here, let me see if I can find the name of it, where supposedly the Jews put this wire around Manhattan. The name of the video is called "Why There's a Single Tiny Wire Encircling Manhattan" by Half as Interesting. And it's just like 5-minute video, and they put this wire all around Manhattan.
Can you
so
send that to me
that the
on
Jews
my?
go on.
Can you just send me that privately so I can watch it?
Okay, I can do that. Open
All
link.
right, well, just continue with your narrative. I want to hear it.
Yeah,
So
basically they're using that to make it all Manhattan private property, so that people can get around. The Jews can get around the Sabbath day by getting out of their house and being able to carry things, because they're not leaving the house technically now, because all of Manhattan is like their house in a sense. You follow what I'm saying? It's like a
I
like
know. They had all of these. Oh, I can't remember, but there's a lot of writings on the extent they would go to stretch things so that it would, because they made it so legalistic, the Sabbath and all that kind of stuff. They made it very legalistic to where they couldn't.
Exactly.
They could only carry this much or do this. And there's so many stories like this throughout the centuries. I'll see if I could dig it up. So it doesn't surprise me.
yeah. And because there's this new movement now. It's like, I guess it's dubbed like the Hebrew Roots movement in a sense.
More
And
garbage.
yeah, but I don't want to say stuff like that. But it's, they got to realize that this is like keeping all the ordinances
Right?
is
Just
like,
say it. It's what Paul warned against. You could say it.
yeah, but I don't want to put like,
Paul was the Pharisee of Pharisees. He was the
Exactly.
top Jew of the day, and he said that exactly what Neil's referencing. Uh, we're under grace, not under the law, and it's you can't do anything by works. But it doesn't matter, because what they've done is they've taken the Sabbath, which was made for man. Man wasn't made for the Sabbath, as the Lord said. Okay, like when he was walking with his disciples through the field, and they grabbed some corn and they ate it, and the Pharisees, we caught you. You're working on the Sabbath. We saw your disciples grabbing a few kernels of corn and eating. You see what they've taken down to the point of legalism and being very legalistic, where God is more interested in the heart. And so they took a very simple ceremony, an observance, and they kept adding and adding and adding, do this, can't do that, over the centuries, to where it became very legalistic. So Jesus reminds them that David actually ate of the showbread in the temple that's supposed to be for the priests on Sabbath, and there's no problem there. So what are you picking on my disciples for? And then he says, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath, and the Sabbath was made for man, not the other way around. But then again, they've corrupted the meaning of it over the centuries to meaning do this, don't do that. You can get away with this much, but not this much. And that's what religion does.
That wire is electricity. And so there's another aspect to it too.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that, but one thing, there's another mistake I noticed, and I just learned about it, is that the law didn't pass away. It's the ordinance is part of the law that passed away. It's like the religious parts, like keeping the Sabbath, the Passover, all those things are done away with, but not like the law itself, like thou shalt not kill, and
No,
honor thy mother and
the law
father.
is
Those things
the
still
law is
remain.
the law is never going to change. The law is pure and perfect. Jesus kept the whole law. He came to do it because we can't. He did it for us because we can't. But it's not going to change. Nothing. God's immutable. He's not going to change the law. But you're not saved by keeping the law. Because no one could keep the law. The law was there as a schoolmaster. The law was there to show that we are sinners. I mean, you have to have something that says you're wrong to know you're wrong, and that's what the law was there for. And so once a man realizes that he or she is sinful, then they could cry out to God for mercy and grace and forgiveness. And that's the purpose of the law. And the Jews took it to, we're going to keep every part of it. And this is why the pride and the arrogance of the Pharisees came against Jesus, because they thought they could keep it.
What they're saying is that they're saying they're not. It's focusing on the Sabbath. This movement, because my brother's involved in it. They're not keeping the Sabbath to be saved. They're keeping it to get blessings. They're feeling that they're missing blessings.
Yeah, that's like the Catholics telling me, and I'm a former Catholic, so I should know, telling me that when they pray to the Virgin Mary, they're not really praying to her. They're asking her to pray, to go talk to God on their behalf. Rubbish. Total rubbish.
No, they say intercede when Jesus is the only intercessor.
Exactly. It's rubbish. It's just made up stuff just to bring in an old legalistic means of controlling people. They got more idols in the Catholic Church than some
Good morning,
temples
guys.
that are so idolatrous. Hey, Chocolate, how you doing?
Hey, Chocolate.
Interesting. That makes sense. That's why that prayer goes, Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for our sinners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when at the hour of our death, I remember that.
Yeah. Mary was chosen
So
for.
what? So that's bad to ask her to pray for you.
Yeah, she's got a lot on her plate.
Exactly. She can't even hear you, Chocolate. She can't even hear us.
I should go straight to the man himself instead of going through
Exactly.
middle guy. Gotcha.
I remember a debate
But I
with
mean, if
Catholic.
that's mom, Like, I don't know. Like, that's how they make it seem. Like, well, she's just as special as he is because she's his mother.
No, it gets
Well, the
far
thing
worse,
is, in
chocolate.
Catholicism, they never claimed that she was. They claimed that she never sinned, and that she never died, and she never had other children. That's the problem there.
No, it gets even worse. Add to what
Yeah.
Neil just said. Just add this to what Neil said. She was virgin born, which meant her
Yeah.
parents couldn't have been parents. That means her mother was virgin born. It's such
Wait, she was?
nonsense. No,
I
she
didn't know that.
wasn't. They've deified it
Oh,
because they need to make her a godlike person. That's why they got an icon of her in every church.
right.
It's idolatry. I mean, we have the genealogy of Mary in the Bible, for goodness sake.
Yeah. And when she found
For
out that
goodness
she was
sake.
pregnant, she said, "My soul does magnify God, my Savior."
That's right. There's this thing about it's going to come into play probably in the end of days. Female God and the female worship of God. I mean, there's so many corrupted things. God's neither female or male. He's a spirit. I mean, it's just nonsense. Hey, Nathan, when the show starts, I have some pictures that I got from a navigation site that show the contrast between how the globetards want to tell us the horizon is versus how a sextant shows what the horizon is. I'm going to send them. I'm going to put them in Master B, and that's your
Put them in.
desire. You could show.
Send them personally to me because I've got your page up with all the different timestamps, so it'd just be handy if it's on the same page, so I don't have to change
Okay,
pages.
I'll do that right now then. All right, I'll go on pause.
Well, I'll start the show then in the meantime while you're doing that.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Paul Hall, Chocolate Sane, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yo. Good morning.
Any signs of a physical geometric sphere edge, formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from every corner of my property.
Not from Skyrim.
Anywhere else not from?
Not from Earth.
Well,
Not from Earth,
not
that's
from
a good
Earth,
one.
thank you.
That's a good one. That's the best one to date, Chocolate. Kudos. I didn't expect that.
that's-
Not from Earth. Yeah, you're right. In a model on paper. Not on Earth, though. Right on. Any evidence of
Can't top
axial
that.
Axial rotation of the Earth-based variety.
Not from Earth.
Not on Earth.
I had to get one.
Any more for any more? Axial rotation, it's been topic of the day for the last couple of, maybe the last week even. No, clearly not. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Not from Earth. I mean, we can answer them all that way, I think.
Will this cover every question? I don't think so. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
I'm tempted.
No, don't.
Not on Earth.
Well, that would imply there was some scientific validity elsewhere. There isn't.
Not according to Rumpus.
Fill me in. Fill me in, Neil. What do you mean?
I said not according to Rumpus. He's got scientific evidence of gravity.
No, he doesn't. He'll say he has experiments, and then when asked what he's got, he'll give a example of an observation that air gets thinner as you go up. That'll be about it. Not an experiment, merely an observation. Doesn't prove Earth's anything. Hey, Adam. Hey, Righteous. Good to have you both.
Afternoon.
Hey again.
Perfect timing for Adam's presence. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Arrived at the right time then. No.
Can I?
Before you move too far away from the gas pressure issue, where is height in the gas pressure ideal gas law? Where's height in?
We haven't got to gas pressure yet, Paul. You're jumping the gun, mate. We haven't got there yet. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container? Hey, what do you know? We're there now.
There you go, Paul.
I guess I'm jumping. Yeah, I'm jumping again. So where is height in the gas law? Just wondering. Can somebody show me that in the equation?
It's not there. Certainly not a variable.
Where is weight in the gas law? That's another one.
That's
weight.
not there either. It's just volume.
Man, you've learned a lot since you got that air fryer.
And it's contained. It has to be contained. There you go.
Hey, Arwin. Good to have you.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Arwin.
Full power again.
Where were we? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Not from Nottingham.
It's not.
Not since I saw your new intro.
Any
Not
samples
from
of this molten iron?
I can get you a sample.
Is it real?
Molten iron is real.
But was it from really deep down?
If I say it is, will that be acceptable?
No.
No, I'm sorry, Arwin. I can't provide you any molten iron from the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. That's something nobody can achieve.
It would be quite the trickery claim, though. It's like, oh, wow. Yes, we've managed to get really deep down and we actually got a sample of the molten iron core here. Look, just like the moon rock, you know? They could go for it.
I like the argument for the moon rock when they talk about the petrified wood, because they compared it to rocks they claim they found in Antarctica, and therefore because they're the same as the rocks they've compared in Antarctica, their claim is that they could have only come from the moon. It's like, what? Because they're only available on the moon when you've got some to compare them to from Antarctica? What the hell? You've undone your own argument with this. But there we go, that's their justification. We found some in Antarctica. They definitely came from the moon, and we've compared them to the ones that we say came from the moon when we travelled through a second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum. Violation, sky vacuum.
Would that be circular reasoning?
It would be
Don't they
circular
mix
reasoning.
that up with the whole little story of what was it, Thea, that came here and hit the Earth and then caused pieces of it to coalesce into the moon. So wouldn't that
What?
actually? What
But
you mean? What, man? You've heard the story.
yeah, but
Come on.
but that would mean that when Ithia hit, that there would already been wood in order to petrify and then end up on the moon.
I don't think that's part of the actual narrative. The fact that it turned out to be petrified wood isn't necessarily part of the narrative, but their narrative, as Chocolate's detailing, is that the moon and Earth are essentially the same because we've got a combination of a planet called Thea that was claimed to smash into us and the debris, because it only hit at a glancing blow, not destroying the fledgling Earth, coalesced into something they could now call the moon, and therefore the moon is made of the surface layer that was smashed off by Thea when it deposited its molten iron core. Isn't that lucky? Into Earth. So it nicely ties up with the timelines of it not cooling down already, like everything else, according to them, in their bullshit world of rocks in the sky. Vacuum has. So there we go. That's their explanation.
This analogy, Nate.
I got a question
Is it-
about that.
Well,
Oh,
I'm
you
a
go.
bit confused on the analogy because you're saying it seems the complete. It seems like going right. I've just eaten a beef burger, right? And it had 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions in a sesame seed bun. And because I've got all that detailed information, I can definitely confirm that it was from Burger King.
Right. Yeah, I got a question about that story about Ithia, right? So, can you give a demonstration of a liquid ball of something smashing into a solid ball rock and then ending up in the middle of that?
No.
How does that work? Usually it should be the other way around. The
No.
solid displaces the liquid. It's just
You're placing way too high a burden on
works.
this.
It works because they made it up like that.
Exactly, they made it up like that. You're placing way too high a burden of proof on this just so made up story that couldn't ever be justified or proven in any way, shape, or form, and is reliant on there being a sky vacuum for all these rocks to fly around in. Well, none of that works, but you know, it's only true because they made it up themselves.
Well, the thing about those rebellious gas particles, they're starting to get comfortable. They're starting to kind of start settling in. We've decided not to go into outer space. Then all of a sudden, this massive pushing into our environment and it heats us up very much so. And we're going like, we don't want to leave. Please leave us here. Come on.
I'm still can't let this one go. Like, the only way I could conceive that could happen, theoretically, presuppositionally into infinity, would be that the Earth was not a rock, but actually more like a ball of dust, and that it just gave way to the liquid and then ended up
Why don't we call
going
it
around it and then maybe melting a little, turning into rock. Maybe that's the way it happened.
Maybe it's a giant hackensack.
Right. Although I don't know how a ball of dust that would be hit with something, would probably explode in all directions. Like, how would the gravity then draw it back again? That's a difficult one.
You missed the glancing blow. That's the crucial detail of this made-up story.
I'd like to respond to Chocolate. It seems like prior to Chocolate's statement, we knew that the location was Antarctica. Now it's New Jersey.
Hackensack, yeah.
Been some reasonable discourse on the molten iron core recently. I mean, we went 6, 8, 12 months with literally never getting an answer about it. Probably since Paul Voigt. It's probably like 2+ years. And then in the last couple of months, we've just, talked a little bit about it. Thea's come up a couple of times in the housekeeping. It's good. It's the most preposterous part of this section of the show, right? Housekeeping has got some poignant points that are being made, some questions that are being asked that are clearly unanswerable based on how they're being phrased, like how can you have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container? The word antecedent answers the question. But nevertheless, the molten iron core is the most preposterous part of this show, in my opinion. It's ludicrous. It's still taught to kids, though. Most people still believe this shit.
But how else are they supposed to explain volcanoes, even though it doesn't explain volcanoes?
Yeah, right on. How do you explain? Well, yeah, that's not anything to do with volcanoes, but if you're a normie that doesn't have a clue about heliocentrism, you might assert that volcanoes have something to do with the molten iron core. They don't.
Well, it does make kind of sense that would be the reason, just as why yeah, Coriolis effect is all about the Earth spinning, even though there's no signs of the Earth spinning kind of situation. So it does really fit down the same lane of train of thinking.
Even if it was true, what the hell would be the mechanism that would just keep creating this molten iron and having this lava come up out of the ground? Like
Well,
what the hell?
geothermic heat maybe a little has to do with it. Also,
Do we have to
there
dissect?
is some.
Hold on. Do we have to dissect something that isn't part of their rhetoric?
Nah, we don't. No, we don't. I'm just
No,
thinking how preposterous it is.
But to be fair, like there is something like geothermic heat. Now, of course, a molten iron core is not going to explain that, but it would fit as a reason to give as to why that even exists. Because why does that exist? Why is there
It
geothermic
doesn't,
heat?
Arwin. There's a land of dinosaurs under there.
What?
The land
Dinosaur
of
slavery?
the lost.
But I thought we were past slavery. We now enslave the dinosaurs deep down there to, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's go pushing
Hello.
Oh,
wheels?
did you never watch
Done.
Land of the Lost?
We're still doing
Fine.
housekeeping.
How
Hello.
can you say that Hollow Earth isn't real? How can
we're
you
still
even
doing
say that Hollow
housekeeping.
Earth is not real?
Are you actually going to argue for Hollow Earth in regards to molten iron core?
They should. Why would you not believe it?
Hollow Earth?
Things like caverns and huge passageways.
This is a first. Feel free to argue for Hollow Earth. Be my guest.
There may be
I think that's like
subterranean.
the oldest
though.
thing they ever argued for was like hell and all that stuff below in these deep like they had religions and civilizations.
Okay, can you show it us?
So
Chill?
Hold on, guys. Hold on.
but it's not completely made up. You don't have to believe me. I'm not.
It's not
but
completely made up. I don't
it
have to believe you. Okay, can you show it me? Is that a possibility?
Well, I'm talking about the idea exists. It's,
Let me just check something. Are you actually a proponent of Hollow Earth? Or are you just putting it out there because it hasn't been talked about?
well, both.
Both. Bit of both. You're a bit of a proponent of Hollow Earth. You like the idea.
It's not bad. It makes sense at least. Like you could make an argument.
The
Yeah.
Hollow Earth is ball based, right? You know that.
Yeah, like Dick Earth is...
No, it could be flat. It could absolutely be flat. And
But then
still
it's not hollow. Then
Have you-
you shouldn't call it hollow.
Hold on,
Just
Owen.
subterranean.
Can everyone
It could
stop?
be
Hold on. Everyone shut up. I just want to hear this guy. What's your name? Sorry. Is it Sing? I can't quite read it.
Synclins, yeah. It's could be hollow and flat.
Synclenser. Okay. Yeah, keep going. Tell us more.
Well, it's not an original idea that if you could have a flat surface and it be hollow under.
We could. But what validity do you have? That's the bit I really want to hear. What leads you to believe this could be in any way valid?
Caves in
As valid as
Bulgaria.
any other religion. It's the same belief. It comes from the same idea. Like they can't test these core, but you could probably have one on a flat Earth.
Historically, you've got all things like the Hopi religion. Lots of ancient races do discuss that being our origin. You've then got all the QAnon stuff and all the David Icke stuff. But as for any actual evidence, I think the only evidence I would cite is Hopi tradition that we came from the bowels of the earth after a cataclysm.
Wasn't Byrd a proponent of Hollow Earth also? Admiral Byrd?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. There's some ties.
The Nazis
See,
also.
I don't know about that though.
There
Of
are
course.
heard
subterranean
different
caverns.
conflating stories with that story about the Hollow Earth thing that was something that he didn't actually write himself.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. There's conflating stories about that.
Correct. I'd like to add something about. I was really into this, and how I see it now, it's just subterranean caverns, and there's quite a few of them, and more to be discovered. But one that's pretty much on record is the one in Bulgaria. It's a huge set of caverns down there, and they don't even know how far they go down at this point.
Absolutely.
So
They have like
Yeah,
oceans.
I'm all
just
for
one
that
location.
idea. Like, Yeah, caves and caverns and giant holes in the ground. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
But
Hold
but
on,
just
like
hold
being a
on,
hollow
hold
earth.
on, hold on, hold on,
theory.
hold on, hold on, hold on.
That I'm
We
not.
know we've got those, though. We know we've got those. That's not what Hollow Earth is, though, is it? We know we've got caves and caverns.
Right. Yeah, Hollow Earth was basically put on top of that to suggest that there's like an inside-out world on the inside of a globe, kind of thing.
So what you're saying is it's just a
But
ham-handed segue into concave Earth. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, it
Well,
was
it's a
like a
religious-
halfway in between concave idea. But it was like a concave with an outside layer as well. So it was still very heliocentric. Like that.
I would like to circle
It
back
could
to
be-
the
Hold on, Paul.
spinning Earth.
Hold on, Paul. The guy who's actually brought this subject up is trying to get a word in. Go ahead, mate.
What I'm saying is that our oldest understandings of Earth was that it was flat and it was hollow. Like all religions had a conception of hell underground in these things, and it's just they're mutually exclusive. Like they.
You mean mutually inclusive, right?
What did I
Because
say?
some of the
Yeah,
monsters that are in there, like the golem creatures. Miss
Hold
of
on.
that.
So far we've got.
There could be. I can't.
But so far you've said in religious texts. So yes, okay. I've seen pictures of Sheol and read about it in religious texts. But okay. But what else beyond that?
Well, they're saying that there's like some sort of heat source in the Earth. I don't know. They call it hell. They call it many different things, but we can't really even test that or go down that deep apparently. So
That's a bit of a
it can't
problem.
Well,
That's the
it's
problem.
described
Well, it
that
can't be
there's a cloud hanging around there that emanates light just if it was the sun, so they say, but it isn't literally like a light point. It's weird. That's what I heard from the stories.
Are you
Why couldn't it
possibly
be like
referring
a
to like when
flat
they
Earth
dug
magnet source?
the super deep cola borehole
No,
and
no,
Oh,
they
and look
got
at my
that?
screen.
no, it has nothing to do with that.
Hold on. Go ahead, Adam. I've got
I'm
you
not
up.
talking to you. I'm talking to the guy.
Oh,
Chocolate
sorry.
and Arwin. Can you just hold on 1 second? Go ahead, Adam.
Yep.
If you look on screen, I've got the Agartha model with the central sun at where the molten iron core would be, and then you've got the reverse inlay of land on the inside where gravity then reverses. So what becomes down and down becomes up in the kind of hollow Earth.
So it is. It's a
But
that's
segue
not-
to. It's a segue to concave then.
Map.
It's just a
So
segue.
this is also followed. This model is the one that's with the Norwegian fisherman that enters at the top, goes through the lands of the giants at the top, traverses through, and then comes back out on a ball at the south celestial pole at the exit point at the bottom on this. So that's
There's a full reading of
That
that
can also
on.
happen on a rectangular looping Earth, by the way.
Hold on, Arwin. There's a full reading of that story on the Morgar's channel. So he's done a complete reading of the book. So check it out. I can't remember the title of it. Can you remember the title?
that's gone. Yeah.
No. Can anyone remember the title?
Beyond the poles.
Was it Beyond the Poles?
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Hmm.
Or Journey Beyond the North or something.
I can't remember. I'd have to look it up, and I can't be doing that right this second. But nevertheless, there's an audio rendition of it on Morgar's channel where he reads out the full story. It's a very, very interesting story, actually. But it's only ever presented as fiction. I don't think it's presented as fact, is it?
It's not disputed.
G.
that
Kincaid.
One at a time.
It's
saying is
presented as a story of truth with the fact that he's clearly presented as mental when he comes back. So don't think it purports to be. I think it purports to be his log of his life, as far as I remember. Don't think it purports to be a fictional story. It's questionable, but I don't think it pretends to be fiction. I
mean, he meets these rather Nordic-sounding, giants that are very evolved in terms of their civilization. They're very peaceful people. They've got trade and everything figured out. There's no war. It's just like the antithesis of the kind of world we live in, basically, isn't it? It's all peace and flowers.
Well, that group should have been, at least.
It's like Zion on the
Kinda.
ground.
Well,
Like,
Smoky
they
God.
had Nazis. They went to Antarctica. Nazis did. They went.
well, this is the Arctic that he's travelling to, as opposed to the Antarctic.
Well, they have like Nazi submarines. Apparently, they went into the North Pole and went into the Earth, like into the caverns below or whatever. But they also have them. They say they're at both poles. So
I
Very
never.
interesting.
They were restocking their supply of petrified wood, I think.
Maybe.
Well, there's also been rumored by now that there's a giant cavern entrance at the South Pole somewhere. So that fits right in.
But this isn't anything. It could be still flat, is what I'm saying, is that there's just a whole other level down
Well, there might be.
I'm a fan
It's
of
claimed there
that.
is.
G. Kincaid.
Can I forward an alternative to that concept?
You have to.
It might simply be a segment land section between the north and the south as part of the north-south loop, another realm parallel to this one.
it could be anything.
Okay, but
Right.
beyond Nazi stories and this maybe true, maybe not true account, is that it? Is it just testimony and propaganda?
Well, it could be propaganda, but it also could be Nazi NASA. It could be the same lineation. It could the same. I don't know.
Well, the problem.
Why
with
would
that
they
is-
make it up? Why did I hear about it?
Well, then you go to credibility, then, don't you? If that's the only standard that you've got, the only thing you can assess it on is credibility of source, and that's not going to get you very far in this instance, is it?
Probably, but they can't be making it up. Like, that's a very specific thing to be. We went
But they
to.
could.
We had submarines go into the North Pole, for instance.
And we've got rockets going to space that we can actually apparently witness
Well,
doing
they're
it.
NASA, dude. Apparently, they've taken.
Well, they
Just-
mapped the moon as well, supposedly. So
Okay, I'm not disagreeing
did
with
it-
you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're right either. But I'm just saying the standard at this point is going to be credibility, isn't it?
Nathan, can I just add that the book was The Smoky God, story
what
of
it was
Jens
called?
Janssen.
Really?
His son.
The Smoky God?
all
You
the
kid-
Smoky God.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's what I did my head in. I had to go and look it up. Smoky God told the purportedly true story of Jens Janssen and his son Olaf, two Norwegian fishermen who had supposedly entered the Hollow Earth in 1829. According to the book, on April the 3rd, Jens and Olaf, who was 19 at the time, left Stockholm in their sailing sloop bound for the Lofoten Islands.
Amazing.
Okay, what was the title again?
Hello?
Because I literally have never heard that.
Smoky God.
The Smoky SMOKY God.
I can't believe that's the title. I listened to that whole story, or Morgal reading it, and I had no idea that was the title. That's
cool-
weird.
Right. I
Weird
know
title.
what you mean, because he named the video "A Journey Beyond the North Pole" or something. I think.
Yeah,
And that's probably.
I think he would
reason.
probably appreciate that the Smoky God's not really going to give anyone any inkling about what's actually going to get read out in that video. But there we go. Maybe he changed the
that's
title.
Not
Well,
a great.
you know what? Maybe it was supposed to be like that. Maybe it's called the Smoky God because that way it's not gonna draw a lot of eyes. Like, oh look, guys, I'm having a story about
That's like
something
way too cryptic.
way out there like that. So
Just
maybe it was
agree.
hidden like that.
Yeah, that's right, Arwen. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, I'm right about that. Maybe.
Oh God, I knew that humouring him would be an affirmation of. No, Arwen, I'm just humouring you. Yeah, you could be right. Maybe.
Yeah, and that's why I
I'm
reaffirmed.
absolutely right about that. Maybe. Absolutely.
Chocolate gets me.
I'll take that maybe as
My
a
shit
firm
always
yes.
works sometimes.
We've got one last housekeeping question, by the way. If there are any more on the centre of the Earth that we'll never prove and have
Hollow
dicey
Earth
sources.
confirmed.
Oh, yeah. Don't leave me. I got something I want to talk
My
about.
bad, Paul.
You
Go
should-
ahead.
You can see my screen. I don't know if anybody's ever done this. This is the hard-boiled egg and the not hard-boiled egg or raw egg. And this is an inertia experiment. Which egg do you think will continually to spin, and which one will not? You guys remember? Anybody ever done this?
There's a hard-boiled egg and a not hard-boiled egg, and you're asking which one will spin. I would say that the hard-boiled egg has got a greater consistency throughout the egg and therefore will spin better, whereas the one with a liquid core won't, because it will flop around inside the egg. But let's see if I'm right.
Correct.
You are right on. Now, what does molten mean? Does that mean liquefied rock? So that would be a liquid, so to speak, center.
Well, that's what molten means. They also double speak us and tell us that molten isn't molten. But there we go. They say it's solid. But that aside, yes, molten means molten.
Which means it's liquid rock, which liquid rock is heated up to the point where it can flow. And so that means it has to be a liquid if it can flow, like magma and all this stuff, right? Well, if we're spinning, and this I don't know if you would call this an experiment or not, but they're saying it is an experiment. Why is the Earth spinning if it's molten iron core? Question to the Globers. Why is it still spinning? Because according to this little demonstration, it shouldn't. It should stop spinning after a while.
Yeah, you're opening the floodgates for them to give you a just so story with an immensely long timeline just to justify why something hasn't happened. In other words, you can only get an answer within space and their paradigm, so they could make up anything to answer you, Paul.
Paul, is this your forte into an egg cylinder argument?
It's an experiment.
Yeah, it's an egg experiment. Yes.
Oh, you guys are cracking me up.
Right, moving on.
I would like to see what they testify. Just give us some time. Let's let the silence set for a minute. If there's any Globers on Discord, how do you answer this?
I think they're scrambled.
Do you want to give the demonstration do you want to actually click play? Is it at the right moment?
Yeah, I think so. Hang on a second. I'll keep the sound off, and I'll play it just for a second or two. Yeah. I think that's enough with it. Is that enough? You get the idea?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Okay, we've got one last housekeeping question, and then I think there's a few things 10th Man wants to go through. So, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Black Swan.
Okay, moving on. So, 10th, I've got your picture of the, it looks like two little battleships. Is that the first image?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get to my phone where I can see what you got up. Where'd you go? There you are. Hold on. I was playing through a 2-second commercial. All right. I'm seeing the screen. Yeah. So yesterday, if you can, I'm going to have to go to I can't blow that up. I can't even see it. Let me go to the act. That's all right. I'll get it right here. All right. I got it. So you can see here on measuring angles and altitude, the basics. Here's an actual photograph or not photograph, but an artist rendering of what a boat would do on sea level and with the angle to the star. And are you looking at the one with the two battleships, one on top of each other?
Yes.
Okay, so see the bottom one, it shows a zenith directly above, and then the horizon is the sea level. There's only one horizon. There isn't 5 different horizons. Now, if the navigator on this ship is 50 feet above the sea level, that's where the dip correction would come in to factor in before going to the books to see where they are in relationship to the star that is at an angle to the 90-degree right angle there. So the horizon is 0, 90 is the zenith, and whatever your star is, that's where that should be. And if you just read what it says, it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, if you go to one of the other pictures that I put there of the way they show it, which is the one with the circle. Observed altitude, visible horizon right above a circle.
Yep, it's on.
All right, so now if you're looking at this, you're saying, wait a minute, how does this work? I mean, we never see the Earth this way in this Muppet vision. And when you're in that boat, as you saw in the previous picture, all you're seeing is this horizon, and it's horizontal. But here, you could see that they've got this 90-degree going to the center of the Earth, and then shooting out to the celestial horizon. Now, none of that has anything to do with how the sextant works, based on the previous picture. You got to be on top of the water, the ocean surface, and it's got to be as far as the horizon is spotted. And you start there because it's very difficult to sight your zenith. But because you're working with a right angle, all you got to do is sight your horizon, and the 90 is your zenith. And then anything in between, the star or luminary, the sun or the moon that you're sighting, you're going to be able to know where you are. So these pictures with a round Earth do not match how sextant works. Now, if you go back to the battleship picture prior to that picture, you could see that it even shows the dip from the guy on top of the battleship. It says dip correction accounts for height above sea level. This is dip correction when using a sextant. Okay, it's not what they keep saying. And I mean, I've heard dip correction for all kinds of stuff, but this is the dip correction. It's just your height from above the boat to the sea level, which is your horizon, further out at 0. It's just as simple. Adam, I know you're familiar with this more than I am. What would you say to all this?
It was something that when me and Savage were looking at moon phases, it's a very interesting, odd thing to introduce because it perverts the reading you take. So you take the reading in reality, and what they try and tell you is no, because you're on a ball, you have to change the angle so that you're actually measuring the angle from the center of the Earth, because you can see all the way over the edge, and the horizon you're seeing is the part of the ball falling away, so you have to calculate from there. Now, to me, that is where they pervert it so that it then fits into ball maths. That's the only function I can see as to why you have to move from your measured to then take it to this celestial horizon, which requires a recalculation. It's a little bit like when they were doing the measuring the distance to the moon via angles, and they have to then change the angles, fit it into their model. So they have to manipulate the reality figure that you actually take and put it in because we're on a ball. And that appears to me what they're doing there.
Yeah, good point. Nathan, I sent you one more picture just now. Can you put this up? This is an actual navigator who teaches the sextant and how to navigate by it. Tell me when it's up.
Yep,
You can see
it's
it.
on.
Say, all right, so you see this hand drawing, and you could see his finger pointing to the horizon. And it's exactly what the other pictures typify. But where's the ball here? Here's an actual navigator saying, this is where you aim your sextant to, this horizon. And then you can see the zenith at 90 on the right angle. So it's far and few between all these drawings. It's so basic, but they, as Adam says, they make the circle to give you the impression you're on this ball, and they got this weird angle down to the horizon as if you're looking straight down when you're at only 10 to 50 feet above the water. You're looking at you got to account for that. That's the dip, but it's not the way the pictures show that mentally construct that we're on the ball. That's fakery right there.
Excellent. Anyone got anything to add?
The other thing I found odd about that tenth is that if you think about observations on land, you don't add your altitude. Just take that angle, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's with hills and mountains. I remember watching one episode of they say don't use a sextant and sight it to land or on land. I can't remember right now, but you triggered something in my mind where something else has to happen, is what they say, because you don't have a flat horizon.
Very good. Thank you for that, 10th man.
My pleasure. I'm learning.
That horizon you were looking at, was that an apparent horizon?
Yeah, owning a boat in my life, every time I went towards it, it kept moving.
Ah, all right. So that means it would lack any sort of geometry to it.
That would be correct.
Copy that. It's weird because there's geometry in the model. So something's not matching up.
Right, I'm going to do a quick shout out to Maulwin, who says, "Say my name." Thank you very much for the super chat, Maulwin. Really appreciate your support. Also, Al Jungi, who says, "All day I dream about sextant." Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Al Jungi and Maulwin.
He said, "All day I dream about sex tent."
Yeah, it's Adidas.
Adidas.
Yeah, Adidas, yeah.
Yep.
All day I dreamed about science.
That's the body of science.
Yeah, sextant.
Ew, body of science is not very sexy.
Check. 1 2 1 2.
Not since Rumpus played it out.
Oh, well, clear the airwaves. Got chemo.
Hi, yeah. So I've just made a new video concerning the black swan. Trying to help globers understand why they're not able to measure the physical horizon, because they asked the question.
Afternoon, Spurs.
What?
Oh, what? Hold on.
Afternoon.
You just saying hello?
Yeah. Oh.
I thought he was going to give
Carry
us a
on,
chance
yeah?
to say hello before he.
No, he's got straight into it. He's keen. He's keen.
Right into business immediately.
Don't ruin his flow. Hello. Go ahead, Spurs. Carry on.
Yeah, where was I? So, concerning the black swan and the obstruction. So, ball earthers are like, okay, so if it's not physical, what is causing the obstruction? So, I found a term called turbidity, which is suspended matter. I don't know if you can play my video. It's only a couple of minutes long. It just shows how the atmosphere changes. It's constantly moving, and it gives the impression that it's a physical horizon. Is that possible at all?
I'll look it up. Give me a couple of minutes if you can, Phil, while I look for it.
Yeah. So, because like I say, we've got that picture from Mitch. I think it's from Mitch there, where he shows the same height, same position, just a different day, and we can see the platforms obstructed, and then we can see the horizon behind the platform. So this is obviously confusing globe earthers quite a lot because they actually think they can actually take a physical measurement to that horizon point there. So I think that's where the confusion comes in a lot, because for them, if it's obstructed, it must be physical. So if I can just show them or explain how the atmosphere is suspended, this is called suspended matter. So it could be there for a day, it could be there for an hour. That's why I don't know if you remember when Soundly showed his curvature. The request was, Soundly, if you were to be there for 7 days, 5 or 7 days, and time lapse or just show us constant recording, you would see that bridge change elevation, position, location. He simply wouldn't do it. He was going when he chose the time, the date, specific angles, and all these kind of things. So hopefully, I'll post it in the master.
Well,
Is
Spurs.
that
Spurs.
the Lake
Imagine
Pontchartrain?
Soundly. My bad, Tiffany. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Chocolate. I was wondering, is Soundly the guy who did the Lake Pontchartrain picture from the 15th floor of the Marriott Hotel?
Yeah, Soundly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Soundly.
Through the double pane glass window that he couldn't open.
Yeah, that's Soundly. Yeah. So
Okay,
we said to him,
Soundly.
look, well,
All right,
Soundly,
Chocolate, go ahead.
if what you're showing is real, then you should get that observation, every single day, all day, every day. And he wouldn't do it. He simply wouldn't set up shop basically at that bridge and show that it curves like that every single day. So
Spurs,
now we have a term for it.
Spurs,
Go.
Your channel's called Under No Pressure, correct?
Yeah.
I think I've been unsubscribed. I haven't got you on my list. You'll have to send me the link and I'll have to resubscribe to you because I'm not subscribed. I haven't unsubscribed from you. I know I'm subscribed. Stick me a Master B, but it looks like I've been unsubscribed.
Yeah, YouTube there. All right, let me post this here.
That's annoying. It's not like I don't watch either. I've literally taken clips from your channel and published them with like an advert saying go and subscribe to Spurs, he's ace. Because you're ripping people a new one with the Black Swan, right? And so it's not like I would have been unsubscribed because of lack of watching. Right.
That's fine. Just happened. I've been unsubscribed to channel.
Okay. Right. Let's stick it on. Let's get it nicely framed first. So this is let's just give you a proper plug first. So this is Spurs Schemo's channel, Under No Pressure. Yeah, you see, I'm not subscribed. Subscribe, because there we go. I'm subscribed again. Happy days. Do you need audio for it?
Probably, because I just explain. I mean, it's a bit of a monologue, but I'm just explaining that what turbidity is, and it kind of goes with the video to explain why you can't see forever, and it just explains why you can't measure it. So you've got two things here. You can't measure the turbidity, the suspended atmosphere, and you can't see forever because the atmosphere is suspended, as it were. Of the observer height in feet cubed. You see, we have an idea, a big idea, an idea so big that it requires your head, plus a scientist, plus a technician, plus a mathematician, and the head of a geodetic server. And even with all of these heads, the idea still may be too big to shoehorn in. I propose you, the glober, are confused. You don't understand because you think the horizon is physical. It's not. To help you understand where you are going wrong, how you are wrong, and why you will always be wrong, you need to understand turbidity. Turbidity, the quality of being cloudy, opaque, or thick with suspended matter. Thus, at certain moments of the year, certain distant reliefs are almost always hidden by atmospheric turbidity. Earth to glober, do you copy? The horizon you were measuring or attempting to measure is actually made up of suspended matter. Suspended matter that sometimes obstructs objects bottom up. Suspended matter that will reflect objects given the appearance of refraction or looming. Suspended matter that will never position itself static so it can be calculated from an observer's location. Geometry is now bankrupt. Height to horizon is meaningless. Height of an object beyond the imaginary horizon is redundant. Height of observer is illogical. I repeat, height of observer is illogical.
resulting in globers not being able to physically pinpoint the physical horizon, rendering all calculations concerning horizons are empty, purposeless, futile. Let that sink in. Face the fact that you, the glober, cannot locate the actual physical horizon. You cannot proceed to make measurements for something that does not actually exist. So we can do this the hard way or the easy way, because whether you like it or not, you yourself are never going to be able to demonstrate practically that you live on a surface that curves. Follow the black swan.
So that is, as I say, Under No Pressure. The video name is Flat Earth Game Over Glober Turbidity Suspended Matter, as I say, on Spurs Gemo's channel, Under No Pressure. Thank you very much indeed for sharing that, Spurs. Excellent stuff.
Thank you.
See, the black swan has inspired you, huh, Spurs? I love
Absolutely.
it.
I
Earth
mean,
to Glober. Do
it's
you
got me
understand?
thinking, Chocolate.
I love
It's
it.
got me thinking a lot, because the ball earthers, well, they ask, well, what is the obstruction then? What is blocking platform, the sun, the mountain? I'll try to give them an answer. Hopefully this will help them with that answer. What do you think of it? What do you make of that as being cause for the obstruction? Because if we're looking for cause, obviously I haven't done an experiment, but I'm hypothesizing that we have an effect where the ship is disappearing. Oh, Rumpus is here. We have an effect. So they say the cause is curvature, physical, actual curvature. I would say it's this suspended matter, as we've seen.
Just going to shout out Rakia Life. He says, apparently I've been seeing an apparent horizon that apparently hides the apparent bottom of an apparent boat that apparently is going away. Thank you very much for the super chat, Rakia Life. Really appreciate your support.
Stuff.
Yeah, we know the horizon's not physical.
But knowing it's not physical is not enough for the baller.
They know that now too.
See, because they want to know what is the obstruction and why can't we see the bottom of a building? And I know you don't like to answer it. I mean, we kind of like.
He doesn't like to answer it. He's answered it with the brick illustration. Too far to see angular resolution from the bottom up. One single brick, 10 miles out.
Yeah, but what is in the way? Is it a physical thing, or is it light? Is it atmosphere, or is it suspended matter?
Have you heard that? Spurs might not have heard that example before. Have you heard that example given
But
before?
what makes you think that there's something in the way? Maybe the angle to that object or whatever it is just too small to pick up. You can't see it.
It's a lensing effect.
But let's think. If you like the piers, those platforms, they're not too small to see, but sometimes they are obstructed. Yes. So we can see the bottom of the piers when the suspended matter clears up, but when it's not cleared up, why can't we see the bottom of those piers?
Well, you've given us your answer already, Spurs, so we know what you think on this subject. Obviously, we've just played out your video. Just want to say hello to our new guest. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Nathan. How's everyone doing?
Very well indeed. How are you? Long time no see. What can we do for you?
Oh, nothing. Just wanted to join today. It's been a while. I like to join every few months. Just, every time the time changes, like for me, it gets earlier. So the show now for me starts at 8. And it used to start at 9. I could join a little easier. So just was listening this morning and then found some of the topics interesting. And just wanted to join and say hi, really. No big deal.
Good to have you.
Nathan, maybe you could reacquaint us with the brick and the deck and the angular resolution and the diffraction limit.
Okay, I'll keep it as brief as I can. You take a brick, you put it out at a mile, and it'll vanish because it's too small to see. Simple. If you then build on top of that brick another 20 stories of a skyscraper, then the skyscraper will be visible because it has a larger angle, whereas the brick that disappeared has still got too small an angle to see, ergo bottom-up obstruction due to angular limitation at the narrowest of angle, which is at the bottom, closest to the deck. Simple.
Okay, so how do we wrap that up as a cause? What cause object disappear. Bottom
Well,
first.
in that
if that's
instance,
what it is.
in that instance, it's angular resolution.
Angular resolution is the
Correct.
cause of the obstruction.
Refraction.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
can calculate it with the Rayleigh criterion. It's not to say that that's the only reason you're going to lose things from bottom up.
Utterly ridiculous.
Yeah,
You'd lose
yeah.
the
As
top
Timmy, he's got a
and
whole list.
angular
He's got a whole list
Have a
of shit
mountain.
that
A
makes things
mountain, for
disappear bottom
instance,
up.
is much bigger than the angular resolution of your eye. Half of it disappears, or a wind turbine, half.
Hold on, half of it would mean that you're taking half of the angle, though, wouldn't it? So if you're saying half of it disappears, then half of it has half the angular resolution.
We'd lose the top of a mountain.
It's just ignored me entirely then. So my demolition is going to be completely ignored. Just a small silence and a repetition of what you
I
just
didn't
said.
hear it. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, just try shutting up.
No, I was talking and you interrupted me.
Well, let's try again. See if you can actually listen a second time, or if you just talk through every word so you don't have to address it. So if you're saying half the mountain, well, that would be half the angle. Half the size in angle. That's what we're talking about. Well, the lowest section has the smallest angle, because you can then halve that again, and halve that angle, and halve that, and you get smaller and smaller angles towards the bottom. Very, very simple. The smallest angle being at the bottom.
You could say the top half has got the small.
You could say that, but the top half's got a wider angle because it's not near the deck.
Doesn't make any difference. The
Oh, well, the deck's the thing that's limiting your angle, so it does make a difference, you complete retard. You're obviously stupid if you think that the thing that you can't see through, which would be the deck, doesn't affect the angle. It does. The sky, however, doesn't limit your angle because there's nothing to limit it, you complete
only
retard.
thing limited is the curve of the Earth.
Oh, the only thing is the curve of the Earth, is it? Well, no. Fog can bring my horizon closer. That's not Earth curve, but your calculator only has one cause asserted. That would be the R value that's been debunked by the Black Swan. You no longer have an R value to give you a physical geometric sphere edge horizon. It's been debunked.
It hasn't.
Oh, right. Well, that hand wave's not going to cut it, mate. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon measurement must be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And we've demonstrated unequivocally that it's way beyond that in multitudes of black swan images where the horizon is way beyond what it should be if you have a geometric horizon. So you don't have a geometric horizon. As a consequence, we are told, we do not see the geometric horizon. Or in the case of Rumpus, we do have a geometric horizon. Well, we don't have a geometric horizon. Well, we do, we don't. We do, we don't. That's what we get from you because you're a clown.
Why are you ignoring refraction?
Which one is it today, Rump?
Refraction would be chocolate. Can you not rumpus every bit of this conversation? Thanks. So refraction would mean deviated from straight, and a geometric horizon would be drawing a straight line to a tangent point on a presupposed curve. So if you're dealing with refraction, you don't have a tangent line.
You have where the curve, the ray of light falls.
That's a lot of stuttering and mumbling. Yeah, I'll just say it again. If you have light that is deviated from straight to the horizon, then you do not have the capability of drawing a straight line to a tangent point because you don't have a straight line.
Should we try taking turns, Nathan? How about taking turns?
Why don't you suck my balls? Should we take turns in you first sucking my balls and then me laughing at you? How about that? Should we do that? Or you can listen to every word I've got to say that demolishes your religion, and you're not going to get to talk through every word of it and then moan that you haven't had your chance to speak. If we're dealing with refraction, something that I'm going to repeat 3 times and you're going to ignore and then moan and not listen to or acknowledge in any way, then we don't have a tangent. That would be a straight line. If it's refracted, that by definition means deviated from straight. If you continue to talk through me, meaning that the Discord server can't hear anything that I say, ultimately meaning that you will not address what I've just pointed out 3 separate times, I'm going to have to remove you, Rumpus, because you're not listening to my rebuttal. Which is, why would we ignore refraction? If we're dealing with refraction, we don't have a tangent. You're ignoring that.
Mine is
Yeah, it seems you're just filibustering the Discord server so that you don't have to address me. So now I'm going to remove Rumpus, and I'll justify why. I've demolished his point. I've given him a rebuttal. Why aren't we worrying about refraction? We are. If we're told by you that the horizon is refracted, then it's not geometric, because that would require a tangent line. Now, unfortunately, Rumpus doesn't want to contest that, because he can't. He hasn't got a rebuttal for that. So instead, what did he do, Neil? Did he listen to my 3-time rendition? Did you hear any of my rendition that I just gave for a 4th time? Neil.
Thank you for that. Was
I'm asking Neil something. He's on mute though. Neil, 3 times I repeated my rebuttal. Did you hear it, apart from just then when I gave it for a 4th time, having removed Rumpus?
Mic check.
Hey, Righteous. Wonderful timing, Neil.
Hey,
I just
I
need
can't hear.
Audio issues.
anybody in the Discord server. I just need an affirmation from somebody who did or didn't hear a word I said because Rumpus didn't shut up, so he didn't have to actually challenge my rebuttal. Just carry on with his own point.
He was just talking.
Go ahead, Mr. Reality. Or leave completely dead air.
Hey, Nathan, you know, I usually listen to the show on the stream.
I don't care. Shut up. Shut up. I want somebody in the Discord server to clarify whether or not they heard my rebuttal repeated 3 times, or did Rumpus merely talk the entire time so he didn't have to challenge my rebuttal?
Nathan, I
He
do
purposely
see
overtalked
Neil-
you.
To be honest.
No,
He was
Arwen's
just talking.
decided that he's going to interrupt this that I've tried to get for the last 3 straight minutes. Can I just have it once from anybody in the panel? I give up. Forget it. Who gives a shit? You're all useless.
I've seen Neil lighting
Shut
up
up,
to try and say
Arwen!
something.
God, for God's sake! I'm trying to talk to the Discord server. Isn't that clear?
I heard you, but
Isn't that been laboured? Jesus wept.
I heard you, Nathan, but I had Rumpus muted already, so it was that.
This was just talking. Whenever you talked, he would talk at the same time. You had.
Thank the Lord.
Thank you. Thank God, whoever that was. Thank you very much. I just need to illustrate to the audience that when I close down the Discord line so that I can be heard, Rumpus is continuing to talk, and then when I open it up because I finished my statement, he continually is talking and hasn't listened to a single word I've said. That's the reason he does it. Then he'll go on, had it have continued, to moan that I'm shutting him up. In reality, he's talking through what I'm saying so he doesn't have to address it. At the moment, it is pretty much their only tactic when they're losing. And then complain about the mute button. So I'm not going to listen to this rebuttal. I'll talk through it constantly. And unless you allow me to talk through it constantly, I'll moan that I've been prevented from doing that. That's their only tactic currently.
Right, so now I'd like to give out a technical report as to what I'm analyzing.
No, hold on a
watching the
second. Is
server.
Chris Berry there?
You know, I'm watching the server and there's a lot of blinking going on, no sound coming through. So I'd like to advise some of these people to re-log in.
mic
because
working?
there's no sound coming through.
Yes, it is, QE.
Is Chris Berry here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, did you see Master B's? You see my message?
No. From right now?
Scroll up about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's a message addressed to you. That's all I had to say. Go ahead, Arwen.
Okay. Right. So I'm just telling people in the server to re-log in because I do see them light up in the visuals of the live stream on YouTube, right? But there's no sound coming through. So yeah, Discord's known to be weird like that. So if you're not coming through auditorily wise, then just re-log in. That was all.
Thank you.
I'd like to, Nathan, I'd like to ask you a question. What does deviate from straight mean?
Not straight.
Okay, what is a tangent line? I've got it on screen, by the way. What is a tangent line?
Straight line that meets a curve at a point.
So
the point
so
it
if
meets. The point it meets is the tangent point. The line itself is the tangent line, or just tangent.
So if it's deviating from straight, it's not a straight line, so it's not a tangent. Okay, I'm just making sure I understand that.
Correct.
Just
So
for
in
clarity.
answer, correct. So well summarised. So in answer to Rumpus's question, why don't we take into account refraction? Because when we take into account refraction, it debunks your heliocentric model because it's geometric and requires a tangent to your horizon based on R. So if it's refracted, deviated from straight, not straight, you don't have geometry. and your entire claim is based on geometry. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Oh, if a bird is natural and a bird makes a bird nest, therefore the bird nest is natural. Likewise, if man is natural and a man makes a shoe, the shoe is natural. And I was arguing, no, that's not the case. It's like it was created. I said it would have to come from nature for it to be natural. You know, a shoe was man-made, therefore it's not natural in that sense. And they were trying to, you know, what they do is, well, first of all, there's 5 to 8 people yelling at you the whole time, which is really hard to deal with. So you kind of lose train of thought because they're scattergunning the whole time. And then not only that, but you know, they're constantly changing topic and things. So one of the arguments was, oh, well, in physics, everything is natural, like because all stuff is made from the same matter. So like the shoe came from the physical materials of the earth. So it's the same matter. Therefore it's natural. Right. So I had to deal with.
Can I get a mic check?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
We hear you. Thank you for that.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick.
This is, hold on, just for Chris, hold on, before
come
Chris
to
gets
next
the same
one.
treatment here. Hello. Yes, so you're talking about Brenda's argument. The shoe is natural because it's made by natural materials, and man is also natural, and he's made it, therefore it's natural. No.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, well, that's what they were arguing yesterday, and I was trying to explain to them that's not the case, you know. And they said, and they kept going on and like, well, is a spider web natural, and is a bird's nest natural? And they're like, well, man didn't make the bird's nest, and I was like, well, no, but we know what created it. We know that the bird created it.
Chris, go ahead and stop. Stop! Don't do it again, man. You're screwing the pooch.
How?
Because you didn't define. First, it's not a dichotomy; it's a trichotomy. That's one. So there was a false dichotomy from them. Number two, you need to define what natural is. Here, I'll solve it real quick. Is there a difference between natural and synthetic?
Yeah, synthetic would be man-made, and natural would be natural.
That's all you had to say. I didn't want to bring it out. I just wanted you to read it, not rehash the whole thing. I don't think it's a big deal. I'm not dogging you out. I'm just telling you, all you had to say was one thing. Is there a difference between natural and synthetic? And the Elmer Fudd intellectuals over there, you would have sent them into a friggin' quivering DT maelstrom.
Yeah, but
I was
like to
there.
drag it out and make it
I
way
was
more
there with
complicated.
Chris. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, how y'all doing? I was there with Chris, and they were definitely. He kind of went through that. He didn't say synthetic, but we were talking about natural and man-made and things like that. And they were arguing tooth and nail Brenda's argument that the shoe was a natural occurrence, so a natural phenomenon.
Can we just?
It was hilarious.
Can I just wrap it up with why it's not? Because if you're presumably this is because you're looking for a causal relationship with something, presumably a man-made device that's conjured a phenomena like Cavendish. But the reason you're not going to establish scientific validity for a man-made object like a shoe is because when you try and establish the cause of shoe, it's a man making it. That's the cause of it. So anything that exists in nature, so that's animals, it could be people, but that's natural. But providing it's not made by or caused by man, which is unnatural or synthetic. There's also a third category, which is why, one sec, there's a third category which hasn't been mentioned by Quantum Eraser, which is supernatural.
Yeah, they brought up supernatural, but they were saying because it was made by man and man is natural in nature and using products that are gathered from nature that anything is natural.
Well,
It
they're
was-
retarded. And by the
yeah,
way,
it was bad.
by the way, Nathan, you know who that is?
Who's arguing this point, you mean?
Yeah, who's talking right there? Do you know who that is?
No.
Distinguished Dave Rockia.
Oh, is that Dave? Hey, Dave.
Yep.
Yeah, hey, how you doing?
Very good to have you. Sorry I shouted shut up at you.
No, anytime. I'm getting kind of.
One of my biggest
shut up to a lot of
contributors.
people today.
First time on the show, and I'm yelling "shut up" at him. Is my biggest contributor. Sorry.
No,
It's all
the money has
Chocolate's
nothing to. The money has nothing to do with earning anything. That's your.
Well, then shut up.
You deserve all of that. Yeah. Okay. I'm on mute.
Don't listen to
I'm
QE. I
just
feel
fucking
terrible now.
I mean, listen, again, I'm admitting I didn't get everything right. I do think at the end I did make my point across, as Rakia said. But that most of their goals, like people like Erebus and others, is really to obfuscate and to confuse. I mean, at one point they asked me if I thought that if the Earth was created, I said I do now believe the Earth was created, and they said, oh well, because the Earth was created, then therefore nothing on the Earth is natural because of the same argument. If man made it, it's not natural.
What the hell?
That's great.
Yeah, they're retarded, man. They're retarded.
God.
Can I ask a question?
I don't know how you do it.
Hold on a second, Chocolate. You only speak when you're spoken to, sir.
Well, there's
Oh
a
my
difference
God,
between
that's tough.
God-made and man-made.
Wait a second. What was I going to say? What was the name of that show, by the way?
Jose John G, JG or whatever. We've been having
Jose's
fun over
yesterday.
there.
What was the title of the show?
Shit
The title
show.
of Jose's show.
No. Yeah. The title of Jose show yesterday.
I don't know.
No, I have no
After
idea.
he left here, what did I say he was going to do?
He's going bad
Oh, he called out Nathan. Yeah.
No.
Can I-
What? No, not calling out. I'm looking for the name of the show.
I'll go to YouTube then.
Was it yesterday's show?
Go on, just tell
Yes.
us. Just rate the misery. Go on, QE. Tell us what the name of the show was.
Oh, Nathan Oakley mute button and more.
Yeah.
The
They're
Nathan
only-
Oakley.
Daily
mute button.
Boom
I told you what
featuring
he was going to
Nathan
do.
Oakley.
He's a weasel and a liar. I asked him if he was taping the show. He said no. I said, I know what you're going to do. You're going to go over to your little friggin' retard arena and talk about the mute button. No, I'm not taping it. And by the way, Crayon Muncher, you actual cherry picked, because you don't know what that means. You actually cherry picked the section to play, Mr. Cherry Picker. Dumbass.
He did lie. I noticed that because at one point he said like 3/4 of the way through the discussion, he goes, oh, now I'm going to start recording. Well, no, he had been recording the whole time, which is why he had that on his show yesterday. So he did lie about that. Absolutely.
Yep.
He's a scumbag.
I
I mean,
just trying to draw in a crowd.
the bottom line is, if he expects me to sit and listen to him shouting and ranting through me telling him off for being stupid, he's got another thing coming. So for the audience's benefit, if you come in and have your ass handed to you and then decide that when you're being told how you're wrong, very calmly I might add, up until that point, that you're going to shout and scream and bleat because you've been proven wrong, what I will do is shut you up and then tell you off for an audience's benefit, so that the audience at least can hear precisely why and how you're wrong. In the case of Jose Retard, he decided that he would circle jerk back to an argument he felt he hadn't had a justifiable answer to, which was for the dome, which we do not claim. His justification was that he didn't understand what the word antecedent meant. Now, this is in response to being asked how he would back his claim that the only cause of bottom-up obstruction is Earth curve. So when challenged, he circle jerked back to a different subject that had already been discussed and was only left open-ended in his own mind because he didn't understand a word that was used in rebuttal. That would be antecedent. He then went on to go and Google search antecedent, read out the definition which absolutely backed up QE's argument for the circle jerk retelling of an argument we'd moved past, and was being obfuscated by Jose by not answering the question to complete his claim, which was that bottom-up obstruction is only provable by Earth curve. That resulted in him shouting at us, swearing at us, and basically rumpusing us, pointing out how and why he's wrong. Pointing out that he doesn't know what an antecedent was, and if he'd read out the definition or understood it at the beginning, he would have understood that the rebuttal given was a perfect justification for us having gas pressure, needing a required antecedent of containment. That was the explanation he was given, and decided to basically, I don't know, ignore because he didn't understand the word that was used. So all of this crap that was trying to be explained by me, he feels it was totally justifiable to talk through every single word of that. That's what they do. And when I don't allow them to use their mute button, in this case Jose talking through me pointing out how and why he's wrong, his obfuscation and debate tactics, which is to circle jerk back to an old question that's been covered, he thinks that's perfectly acceptable to talk through. And when I stop it, which I will, I've got no shame in shutting up retards like Jose and telling the audience what's what, not allowing him to obfuscate it by talking through it. And if he wants to bleat that he's had some sort of unfair treatment because I've actually got the opportunity to explain to an audience how and why he's wrong, that simply makes him a poor loser. His only attack being my ability to not let him obfuscate an actual rebuttal and highlight his stupidity. Oh, my violin is playing for you, Jose. It would have been so much fairer if they wouldn't have heard what I said. No, mate. I will shut you up and anybody else who decides that they're going to obfuscate an absolute teabagging of their shit claim, like Rumpus does. You might have learned how to obfuscate the Rumpus way, but it doesn't mean I'm going to feel in any way ashamed to shut you up and rip you a new asshole with absolute clarity being heard from my audience. I've just spent £600 on sound deadening equipment so my dulcet tones can be appreciated by my audience. Not a fuckwit retard talking over me because he's having his ass handed to him and then moaning that that's unfair. That just makes Rumpus and Jose losers. You've only got that to moan about. Well, good for you. Keep moaning about it. It's not going to change a damn thing. When you lose, I'm not going to let you obfuscate my demolition of your crap claim. Sorry, if you don't like it, don't come here. We will hand you your ass if you are wrong. If you're right, or you've got a claim to make in the first instance, it absolutely will be heard, as will rebuttals, which will be swiftly dealt with. Now, rebuttals that are followed up with endless diatribe of scattergun horseshit will also be silenced by me. I have no shame in shutting up a rebuttal and replying to it concisely for my audience. Now, if you don't like that fundy fuckwits that need to obfuscate and scattergun and use word salad as a defence, it's not going to fly here. Now, I know that you don't like that. And I know that you feel that shaming me about shutting you up when you're being beaten is going to somehow affect me? Nah. It might keep you out because you know you're not going to get to use that tactic. But that's all it'll do.
Stop monologuing.
Sorry.
That was great.
Oh, there he is. Mr. Script.
That was
Junk DNA.
Did you get your junk DNA removed yet? What is DNA, by the way? Do you know what it is? Tell us what DNA is.
You tell me.
What's its constituent parts, Mr. Junk DNA?
Tell me. You believe it's a
I gotta
code.
tell you, huh? You were the one with the claim.
Yeah, you believe it's a code.
You believe it's a
Sorry,
code.
you were telling us about how junk DNA wasn't useful. Do you not remember this? No mute button
Probably
needed.
doesn't remember his name.
No mute button required. Just a massive slap across the face of Alan, who's stupid.
Not really, Nathan. You're boring.
Yeah, stupid fucktard. Junk DNA, where all the discoveries are being made, you complete fuckwit. Yeah, Alan, you're a fuckwit. This is me, Nathan Oakley, a flat earther, telling you how stupid you are. I hope you enjoy the taste of my balls, because I'm telling you, you are a fuckwit.
You're boring.
Oh, that's a really good rebuttal. Junk DNA is where all the discoveries are being made. You stupid fuckwit. Boring, eh? Am I boring you with your own stupidity? Yeah, you bore us with your idiocy.
example of latest
The junk DNA, not very junky, moron.
silence. Citation, please.
Sorry, it's your claim.
You don't even know what one is.
It was your claim. We're pulling apart your. Sorry, you asking us for a citation about your claim that junk DNA is junk? No, we're ripping you a new asshole. And it seems it's the tactic time. It's time to talk through me, right, Alan? This is what they do. Nice demonstration for my audience, Alan. That when we're handing people their ass, they feel it's time to talk through the other person. No, Alan, it's not your time to talk through me. It's my time to point out how stupid you are. Yeah? You're stupid. And I'm going to tell you, me, a flat earther, it's not your time to talk through me so that the audience doesn't hear it like I've just detailed when you told me I was monologuing. Now, at this point, I haven't got to shut you up because you've got the hint. Yeah? I haven't got to put you on mute. But your mild humility means that I don't have to mute you. I can just tell you're a fuckwit with you listening to me.
Your poor kids.
They're not even here. What are you talking about, my poor kids? That's an ad hominem attack. I've demonstrated why and how you're a fuckwit. And you take... Now you're talking through me again. Yeah, you gave me your ad hominem and I'm responding to it. Number one, my kids aren't here. Number two, that's not an address to us pulling apart your nonsense claims about DNA. Specifically, junk DNA. Now, that's me demonstrating you to be stupid. With clarity, and there we go again. It's time to obfuscate it because I'm making him look stupid. Yeah, fundy mute button, Alan. Thanks for demonstrating. You're telling me that I'm monologuing while simultaneously making my point that you claimed I was monologuing about because you're interrupting me, handing you your ass with your stupid claim, and all you've got when you do get chance to respond, i.e., not talk through me while I detail this, is to what? Criticise my family. Criticise me personally, not a response to this junk DNA claim you've made. It's just an ad hominem attack. Also known, and there he is, talking through me again, because it's time to obfuscate the fact. Have I got to put you on mute, asshole? It seems I've got to put you on mute, asshole. My monologue wasn't listened to. Yeah, I'm going to tell you off because you're stupid. Now you don't have to tolerate that. Eventually, I'll have to shut you up and put you on mute because you're not listening. You think it's your turn to obfuscate me telling you how stupid you are with examples. Or attack me or my family personally because I've made you look stupid. That's totally unreasonable behaviour and also a logical fallacy. Still talking through me. Second attempt to point out his fallacy. That's a logical fallacy you've just employed, Alan. It's called an ad hominem attack. It's a logical fallacy. When I've pointed out with examples of your claim, something we're now debating, and how that makes you stupid, that's a factual description of stupidity. And here we go again. Talking through me again. Here we go. Fundy mute time. Detailing how stupid Alan is, so he's got to talk through it. Thanks for making my point I was monologuing about, by the way. Yeah, I'm perfectly justified in shutting you assholes up when I detail how fucking stupid you are, Alan. And I know you don't like it and you think it's your need to justify your fallacy that you've just used as a response, attacking me and my family. That's not a response to your junk DNA claim. That's the third attempt to point this out and ask a question at the end of it. I'll just point that out. Third attempt with the fundy mute button from Alan. Third attempt with him talking through me. Are you going to listen, Alan, or are you just going to obfuscate your own stupidity constantly? That's a question that he didn't get the question because he was talking. Did you hear my question, stupid? Can't listen either.
No, I'm not listening.
Yeah, I know you're not listening. You're a retard. I know. That's what retards do. They talk when they should listen. Another example, a demonstration of your stupidity, Alan. When listening, or supposed to be, you're talking like now, trying to educate a moron, a demonstrated moron, and what do I do, Alan? Do I put you on mute? Is that what I've got to do? Because you're talking through me. I've got a question that I've still had 4 attempts to get to, but you keep talking through it because it's a question in regards to how stupid you are and you can detect that. Therefore, I'm going to have 5 attempts to actually ask you a question geared around your claim that you've made that's stupid. I'll try again. I'll get to the end because I've had 5 attempts. We'll see if the end gets cut off as well. Why have you used a logical fallacy, in this instance an ad hominem attack, in response to a rebuttal of your junk DNA claim? Why have you employed fallacy?
Because you, sir, are a joke.
That's the same fallacy. That's an ad hominem attack.
You're a joke. You're a joke.
Is that
Not
your
even
only
making an
rebuttal
argument.
to use the same fallacy 3 times in a row?
Joke for money.
Sorry, you now ad hominem me non-stop.
Yeah.
So it's time for you to leave. Fuck off. Get out.
Thanks for contributing nothing.
Yeah, thanks for contributing your stupidity, Alan. I really enjoyed highlighting how stupid you were. I also really appreciate you making my demonstration of why I must shut fuckheads like you down with the mute button. Because if I don't, we get what we just had there. 5 attempts to ask him why he's used fallacy in a debate, with him talking through me. Now that might be tolerable to Jose Fucktard or Alan when I'm telling them off and pointing out how stupid they are. It's also justifiable them to attack me and my family. Just total scum. They've lost a debating point, so they attack me personally or my family. Scum. Haven't got winning arguments. They've just got fallacy.
He didn't debate anything. He just was shit talking. Nothing to bring.
Meanwhile, we demonstrated how stupid he was. I doubt he liked that very much.
Hey, Alan, there's your citation. Of course, you don't know what one is. Let's read through it. It's real short. By Dr. Craig Venter, the grand poobah of geneticists, geneticists of geneticists. And I quote, people arrogantly call parts of the human genome that don't code for protein junk DNA. Today, junk DNA is where all the discoveries are happening, and we know that junk DNA is crucial for gene regulation. You nitwit.
Yeah, to even call it junk DNA at this point is kind of a wrongful name for it.
Yeah, it was solved about 20 years ago. Clowns.
Right.
30.
Epigenetics.
I thought it was the early 80s. Isn't it like 30 years ago now?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. They screwed the pooch by coming out and letting their friggin' drivel out of their mouth about the little evolution fairy tale. And it takes some real stupidity to do that. The argument from complete ignorance, and then they got jacked frigging yard. Too funny.
I removed him. Had I've not removed him, he would have talked through every word of that because it makes him look stupid. So that's got to be talked through. And then should I shut him up? That'll get moaned about. Because obviously it's only reasonable that we hear the obfuscation of the actual point and not the point. And should I stop that? Well, then that's terrible, right? I'm an evil man for stopping them obfuscating their own demise. I don't think so, fundies.
He thought he was clever.
Like Rumpus and the other guy just talked through you and the whole conversation.
Yeah, when it got to the point that Rumpus was being demolished, he knows he's dead. So what's he got? He's got nothing left. So it's last chance saloon. Throw out as much scattergun as you can. Throw out as much rhetoric as you can. Hopefully that'll leave an impression. Because he's lost. So why not? If you've completely lost, why not rumpus the crap out of every word your opponent says so nothing's heard and you don't have to answer anything? And then as soon as there's a break, make your assertion again. That's their tactic. It's fairly straightforward. It's pathetic.
Hey, Nathan, speaking of rumpus, I've got a definition of tangent on your Scott channel, if you could put it up.
Oh, no, he'll close out the show. 10.
No, he won't close out the show.
Let me ask my question. I've been wanted to ask the question. Go ahead, Tim. I wanted to ask one.
Yeah, tell me when it's up, Nathan.
It's up.
All right, so go off on a tangent. A person or piece of writing goes off on a tangent or goes off at a tangent. They start saying or thinking something that is not directly connected with what they were saying or thinking before. And on and on. We know what that is. But look at the bottom. Note, in geometry, a tangent is a straight line which touches a curve at one point but does not cross it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, a tangent straight. This was the point that Rumpus basically filibustered and rumpused, as we've now deemed it, rumpusing, causing a disturbance. The reason he's done that is because at the point he said, well, why don't you just accept refraction? Well, because if we accept refraction, it demolishes your geometry because it requires a, quote, straight line, not deviated from straight or refracted, as he's telling us to accept. Except I can do donkey dick geometry, is essentially what he's saying.
Hey,
Thanks,
is
Ten.
Chris still here?
Hold on,
to circle
hold
back.
on, Kiwi, hold on. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, it's related to what Chris was talking about. Just a question in general. Do all man-made or synthetic material have to obey natural law?
Do all man-made material have to be? Give me an example, please.
Unobtainium or adamantium?
Well, no, like the laws of chemistry, the laws of physics, the laws of electromagnetism, or whatever it may be, they have to obey those laws to function, correct?
I would think so, but I'd like an example.
Well, even like in when man makes a drug, let's say, they have to use chemistry in the process, and there's laws of chemistry. They have to know how things bind. Okay, or let's say a car has to follow thermodynamic principles for the engine to work. You know.
Yes.
Okay. So now, I think that's what they could be confusing because
No, they're not. No, they're not. No, you're giving them way too much credit, dude. No, they're not.
Well, I'm just saying is because if they see something happening in like a car, they can say, "Well, that's a natural phenomenon." Well, it does have to obey physical laws.
No, it
that's
can't
still
be a
man-made
dependent variable. It can't be a dependent variable. Is the point? They can't even get that far. So no, you give them too much credit.
Just ask yourself this, Paul. What's the cause of car?
Man made the car, and
Well, there you go.
but it could be following thermodynamic or laws, which means it breaks down over time.
Yeah,
but it has to still obey those laws.
That
Because
doesn't have any meaning to the argument.
well, it does to a degree. I mean, the fact that the metal, that the component parts are still subject to entropy. But so what?
Yeah, it's red herring to the actual argument. All right, we done with that? Is Chris still here?
He is.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I love this is a classic argument he made yesterday. I was listening to him. It was good, Chris. And I realized why you couldn't stick with it. So Chris brought up a point because all these monkeys over there think they're on the satellite bandwagon, and they were talking about heights, GPS given heights. And Chris went and researched it, right? I knew what he was going to come up with. And he came back and he said, wait a second, guys. This is all based on the WGS84. And so how is the WGS84 model relating to reality? If the Earth is an ellipsoid, somebody better tell NASA about their picks, right? And Dean, dumbass Stingray, son, you're about it, dumb fuck. He immediately started asking Chris about the code that GPS was sending, completely sidetracking the whole issue. I thought it was classic. I just wanted to bring that up.
Nice going. Red herring, red herring, a good subject.
Hold on 1 second, Arwin. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, it's fine. Yeah, I was just gonna say again, it's just the point is there's just scattergunning left and right. I mean, you can't hold a single conversation with those people. Like, there's first of all, he lets like so many people on, and 95% of them are ballers. So the 1 to 2 to 3 flat earthers he has on there, we just get corralled and over talked and scattergun. It's just really hard to even if you were seriously going over there, which is laughable at this point, to have a serious conversation. He just can't because people
sounds like
John
romper
said,
road.
yeah, it's rumpusing without rumpus. And like you said, I mean, I brought up that.
Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, just what John said, brought up, the WGS84 ellipsoid model, which GPS apparently uses. If you just Google GPS source code, you can come and find all these different pieces of code and websites with different different functions and sub-functions and things that they use or could use, I guess. I mean, they even calculate what's called the Earth flattening, which again is based on the WGS84, and all that means is because it's flatter at the pole, supposedly, right? Presupposed flatter at the poles than at the equator. so the GPS system is using, and the code rather is using all those numbers. They're using pi, they're using, you know, radius, radians, all these things that you would find presupposed on a sphere already. So I'm still doing research into it, but you know, it's like I think Nathan, you said it best when somebody, I used to listen and someone say, "Yeah, Nathan, explain GPS," and you're like, "Oh, global positioning system." You know, it's like it's built into the name, it's built into the code. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, your whole point, the gist of your position was outstanding. You're saying, okay, all their data is benchmarked against the WGS84, the flattened ellipsoid. How are you getting how can you relate that to reality when we're not living on a flattened ellipsoid? Well, that was the whole point. I was sitting back laughing, right? Like, yeah, because you're putting this, you have a model, a presupposed. How does that relate to reality again? Oh, what part of the source code again? What are the beginning numbers of the code? You frigging retard. I handed you your ass before, you dumbass stingray. You better stay over there with those retards. You and that Brian Peckerwood. Peckerhead's making an appearance again, too. Along with that bullet head Bill. He's a real dumbass. Mr. Biology, you can speak to evolution. I'll hand you your ass in less than 10 seconds with your interruptions, clown show.
I just give
Bozo,
Chris,
get your ass on over here.
I just give Chris one of the tips that I got from Quantum Eraser, which is that they cut through all of that, which you've just explained very eloquently with the WGS84 and referencing a presupposed sphere Earth with the radius value, etc., etc. They use one word to insert that into their claim, and it's the word orbit. As soon as they use that word, they're presupposing the object's motion being in a perpetual falling around sphere Earth. So as soon as they use the word orbits, the next words out of your mouth need to be, that's a begging the question fallacy. You're automatically assuming Earth is a sphere with these objects falling around it.
Hey, Nathan and John, I'd like to add to this. When I contacted a navigator about how sextant works, I asked a question that dovetails with WGS84 here. I said, why do you have to assume the stars are moving and the Earth is stationary when using a sextant? And his answer was, because it works easier that way.
Fair enough.
So what I'm going to start doing.
So well, let me wrap it up there, Chris.
Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, they got, from what I'm understanding, a flattened ellipsoid where it can work, but the minute you go to a globe model, it can't. And on the sextant and navigation, it can't work if the Earth is rotating. It only works if the Earth is stationary.
Yeah, so along those same lines in this discussion, what I'm going to start doing, and I did start doing it yesterday, is the very first question I'm going to ask ballers, no matter what the topic is, which globe model are you using? Are you using a purely spherical round Earth model, or are you using WGS84 ellipsoid model, right? Because depending on which model they're using, they're going to have to use different maths and equations, and then we need to ask them for which equation they're using. In fact, I'd like to see the equations for their WGS84 curvature and all that stuff, because I think everything they've been quoting is the pure sphere model. So
yeah,
which models are they using?
Yeah, you're right.
I got a better question. I have a better one.
Show
it.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was just going to say, can I see that model, please?
Yeah, but what they're referencing is what they call, or Mick West called, the standard model, which is just to say they're assuming a sphere with an R value. In other words, not the WGS84 when you're in standard trench level debate. That's not what they're referencing.
They don't even know what they're referencing. That's the freaking damnedest part of it, man. Whatever they say, ask them to show it. So every single model, you need to see it. So show it to the audience. Idiots.
Yeah, I still remember that, watching Cathexis do that, and I gave him a load of props. So I got in touch, and I was like, wow, man, that was awesome. And then about a year later, I remember bringing it up, and I'm like, oh, there's this great time where Cathexis was on this channel, and he was absolutely annihilating. I think it was Gem Panda, and all he did was very nonchalant just say, can I see that model, please? And then all hell broke loose. God, Cathexis is so ace. And then Quantum Eraser was like, yeah, I gave him that argument.
yeah. Too funny, man. Yeah, it's classic. Yeah. Hey, I got a question for you because I don't know when you're gonna drop. So just a small admin. Did you check the intro for Ballbusters for me?
No.
That was part of the message you were supposed to read. I wanted to make a couple small changes. If you can't, just let me know, and that's good.
I still haven't I'll be honest, I haven't read the message. I will do.
Just scroll up a little bit, and it's right up there. Also to the outro, that one cool outro you got that I always play, I need it adjusted a little bit. If you can do it, good. If you can't, I just need to know if you can or can't.
I might be able to. The problem is I made those intros on the last iPad, and whether or not I can then actually go in and edit them on the new one is a different story, but I'll have a look. If I can, it'll be easy, and I can just rattle it off and give it to you in 2 minutes. But it might not be easy. In other words, if it involves remaking the entire intro, I'm just going to drop you a line and say, sorry. But if it's easy, if I can actually get into the editing process and just chunk out some mic or add something, then yeah, I can do that.
I think I sent you the actual files also, so
it's not having the file, it's having the edited, the raw with all the edited bits in. That's what I need.
Okay.
But don't worry, I'll figure it out. I'll have a look what you want and see if I can do it or not.
Appreciate it. You only got like 2 days. Don't worry about it.
Nathan, can I screen share real quick?
Sure. Got like 8 minutes left.
All right, let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I sent you a Skype message. I see you're still using Hangouts. Google's made the Google Meets, which is the upgraded version of Hangouts, free for everybody. So you could start using that if you really wanted to.
Oh, really? Oh, that sounds useful. That's probably
Yeah.
got adjusters for volume on it for each guest, right?
Right, I think so.
Oh, brilliant. I'll definitely be getting that then.
But just check that out. Yeah, they did that for the COVID stuff.
Google
so anyways,
Meet.
I just wanted to bring this up and show it real quick. So I just typed in, was this the right one? No, sorry. I had a couple searches. So if you want to find this site, you just type in GPS source code, and it's the first link, existing algorithms and source code available. And then there's all these, like I said, all these different links in source code. So this one, it says ionospheric model subroutines. So if you click on that and then subroutine to compute ionospheric delay, it's like, wow, what the hell is that in the first place? But anyways, if you go in here and you just look in the code, if you've ever written code, people will write in notes, and that's usually the easiest thing to look for, especially if you don't know how to read code in general. So just look right here. I mean, it tells you WGS84 value of pi, so that they're baking in the WGS84 value up front, degrees in semicircles to radians, right? So it's like they're telling the code what to do up front. They're not getting raw data and saying, oh, what is the raw data showing? It's being programmed in. Earth-centered angle. I think that's pretty much everything in here to look at as far as that code goes. There was another one that did talk about the Earth flattening value. So there's their values. I think I find that one. I don't remember. So I've been clicking on a couple of links. Oh, this one's sky plots, and this I just clicked on and see here. So it's got like pi over 2 conversion for radians to degrees. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Earth flattening factor. So again, I didn't know what that was, but basically it's that WGS, again, the WGS84 model, which keeps coming up, right? Even though the ballers never talk about it or use the numbers, as far as I'm aware. That again, that just means the supposedly the poles are more flattened than around the equator. So conversion for sidereal UT to sidereal times. There's all these conversions, and God knows I don't write code, and I know a little bit about it, but God knows what they're really doing behind the scenes. And then this is just for probably the reception, and then who knows what whoever created GPS is doing behind the scenes for conversions and things anyway. So I mean, there's some proof right there.
Well, it's because the WGS84 is a flattened ellipsoid, so the flattening factor gets you that. So if you just type into a different Google search the words flattened ellipsoid, can you do that for me, Chris?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just stopped sharing.
That's okay. Yeah, if you type in to a Google search flattened ellipsoid and then just go to a picture search, or an image search rather.
Right. Mm-hmm. Here, I'll reshare.
Thank you.
And Chris, if you send Nathan a message and you put it in Ballbusters, or not in Ballbusters, but in Master B, good luck with that.
Well, that's why I just told him, just in case.
There you go. Just so people can see, this is probably the best one. This blue one. That's what the WGS84 is referencing. That's, you know, when you've applied your flattening factor, you end up with that squashed ellipsoid shape.
Right. Now, I do remember talking about this a little bit in the past, and it'll come up every once in a while. And obviously, the ballers will say things like, "Oh, well, it's just not enough to notice, like in pictures." You know, that's what John said. I brought up the pictures from NASA, right? Obviously, it's bullcrap, but it's to them, it's not. So I'd say, no. Oh, well, why do all the NASA pictures show a perfect sphere when we were told it's a flattened ellipsoid? And then say, oh, well, it's only 0.3% of a difference from poles to equator. So there's always these excuses about scale and size and stuff, which they do seem to have on their side. Unfortunately, it's just an easy out to call it. But
you want to solve it real quick.
That doesn't look
Chris?
pear-shaped to you?
You want to solve it real quick though?
Sure.
Yeah, ask them where those satellites are.
Right. In space, John, of course.
Just one more search.
In the vacuum?
Yeah, in the vacuum, John.
Yeah. That's how you solve this situation real quick. So you don't spend 45 minutes with crayon munching retards going down 25 different rabbit trails and red herring fallacies. You just ask them where it is, and then ask them what is the second law of thermodynamics. That'll put an end to it. Well, no, it won't, but it will for everyone that can fog a mirror.
Just one more search term. I think this is the correct term. If I get it wrong, it'll bring up a load of pictures of Hellraiser. Figure of the Earth. I think if you type that in. Hope this gets you there.
Figure of the Earth?
There you go. On the right.
The Wikipedia link here. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, here we go. Note the curvature of the Earth.
Lovely.
And you can see a inferior mirage here in the distance. This crane. Zoom in. You see how it kind of bends down towards the water, and there's some mirroring going on. So obviously, these people don't know what they're talking about. If you go to Lake, if you do the this just pisses me off. I know it does you guys. If you go to if you go to Lake, God, I don't know how to spell this. Pontchartrain Causeway. I think it's the Causeway. You got Soundly's dumbass in here with this picture. Look, Causeway demonstrates the Earth's curvature, right? And this is right here in Wikipedia for all the global masses to consume, and say, oh yeah, wow, look at that. Look at that. Like, look at that Coke can of curve right there. Unbelievable. If you just followed this trajectory, it would like slope down like a.
No, it's Planet Orleans Parish.
So, I mean, we know.
Look at that pole in the background that's standing straight up past the curvature. That's a little weird. What kind of planet are we supposed to be living on again?
Oh, and when they ask
hold on. Just for the audience. Hold on. Hello. Just for the audience's benefit, because no one's going to shut up. So what Chocolate's referring to is this in the background. So obviously, if this bridge is claimed to be curving around, and this bit's then pointing, the angle of this end piece of the bridge is pointing out in this direction, then surely this beyond it should also be pointing out in that direction if it's following the curve of the Earth as they claim the bridge is. That was Chocolate's point. I just wanted that to be made clear for the audience. That was all. Sorry to interrupt, Kiwi.
Yeah.
Sorry,
you screen sharing, or you're going off what I'm sharing?
I'm going off what you're sharing.
Okay, yeah, right. So like the angle obviously is extremely drastic. So here, well, about here you've got, let's just call it 90 degrees for sake of argument. And by about here, you're a couple degrees, and here it's like what 10 degrees leaning backwards, even though they claim 1 degree per 69 miles. Like how is that possible?
Yeah, it's a train wreck on so many levels. And then when they ask you, well, you gotta look at the data, have them look at the above elevation of sea level data for each side of that causeway from the ground. Check that data. Clowns.
I mean, and then you look at this picture, it looks pretty darn flat to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything from Stanley, we're 2016, late 2015, 2016. These are old, disheveled, beat up, nonsensical buffooneries, man.
Yeah, and just one last point on this and bring it back up is actually we've been talking about this on Jose's lately, or yesterday or whenever, a couple days ago, and he played the video of this, or the clip from where this picture was taken, the video, and it's just refracted all the hell. Like the bridges, like the whole road and bridges are moving, and the water's moving, and the things in the background are all moving and dancing and waving, and it's just like, give me a break. It's nothing is what they like to call it's not reality. It's they'll say, oh, Black Swan isn't reality because the spires and things are all wavy and bendy, and then they'll go to this and say, oh, but this cocaine world's reality. And then you watch the video and it's all jelly and dancing to hell, but that's reality to them. That's okay because it shows purported curve, right? When we know that it's not. But
Right. I'm just wondering, what is that vast, super high, giant mountain range there in the back? That if that was a curvature, then how high must that be?
Nah, it's curving down and then coming all the way back up. Because that's how balls work.
I think that's like
this
just
is beyond preposterous. I don't believe. I didn't believe in 2016 that these guys were touting this as an argument. Now it's 2020. Y'all don't even have a geometric horizon. You're still looking at sounding. It's like, this is a joke, man.
Does it say true on the Wikipedia?
Hey, Chris, didn't Dave ask him, where'd you take this picture from? And he said the 15th story of a Marriott.
Yeah.
And then he say, did you open the window? And he says, no, you can't open the window.
Yeah, he said that.
So he took his camera and had to go through double pane glass to get the shot to begin with, correct?
Correct.
And another thing about the picture, the way it shows, is there a bicycle lane on that bridge going both directions?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it looks very difficult for a car to go over that elevated bridge, let alone someone who was, say, on the bicycle lane as well. So it's really
right.
distorted.
Yeah, it's definitely distorted. So anyways, last thing I wanted to bring up, then I'll give you back your show, is every time you bring up the original Black Swan, they say that the spires are dancing and all jelly and wavy, and that's not, therefore it's refracted and not reality. So this one, obviously, I know you all have seen this one too, shows the same effect of the Black Swan. I don't know if there's a better angle or distance, but there's absolutely nothing call it refracted or bent on this. The cranes are all straight lines everywhere. So what's the excuse for this Black Swan? Because this is the same distances, right? Like a plus 10 mile horizon with a couple foot observer height, and this looks all pretty darn straight and clear to me. So what's the excuse going to be?
The argument is not the cranes. The argument is the horizon.
Well, to be honest, I actually presented this to Quantum Eraser when it first came out. And I was like, why don't we use this image instead? It stops them constantly saying the cranes are refracted. And almost with a coy chuckle, he was like, no, I want them to say refraction.
Yeah, I bet he's wishing he had it now, because that's all they've been saying for 6 months. And it's
okay.
Annoying.
Well, like today, right?
I love it more.
Well,
do we
like
have
today,
a Black Swan version of this?
Well, how did it end up today? Rumpus comes in and says, why don't you just accept refraction? And what was the reply? Well, because if it's refracted, it's not geometric anymore, and your model's geometric. So having them say refraction is them ending their own religion. So it's no bad thing.
Yeah. No, I hear
But
you.
you're,
I just wanted to make that
I know
point
that's not
for-
your point,
for
Chris,
those
so I'll just
people.
reiterate what you're actually saying. You're saying, no, when you just assert that we've got these super duper uber refractive levels that we need to take into consideration, no, you can go back on a different day, take the same picture with the horizon way beyond the second oil platform, and there isn't any noticeable effects of refraction that you can suddenly justify away. It's just a normal day with a clear view. So that's a nonsense assertion. However, their nonsense assertion that it's all refracted, in this case the actual argument being about the horizon, not the cranes, then as soon as they say refraction, right, well, your geometric model's dead then.
Exactly.
I think my favorite part is that the same effect that they're using as an excuse that's bending the cranes is actually giving us clear visibility to further than 10 times where the geometric horizon is supposed to be. That's my favorite part. It's distorting and giving us clear visibility all at the same time. It's fantastic.
And the geometric horizon in that instance would be at 1.2 miles. So in other words, very close on a nice clear day, but it's refracted behind something in a geometric impossibility. Yeah, okay. This is why the Black Swan is as good as it is. Not just this image, but just the argument in general. The fact that we've got demarcation points. That's the only real use of these cranes, just to show how far the horizon isn't. It's obviously at not at 1.2 miles, because the first crane is at over 6 miles and the second one at well over 9 miles. So therefore, obviously, the horizon being beyond those two stanchions, or whatever you call them, platforms, shows that it's not at 1.2 miles. And if it was, even if it was really heavy refraction on that day, 1.2 miles ain't that far. It's not going to suddenly refract it up to 20 miles away, as is demonstrated in the picture. It just debunks the assertion that we've got a physical sphere edge for a horizon. It's great.
Did you guys see? I know you talk about Mr. I think his name is Mr. Wonderful, or the guy who used the basketball and the thumbtack.
Oh, Mr. Sensible.
And Mr. Sensible, yeah. Whatever. And so he used the thumbtack and the magnifying glass, and he said, "Oh, look, if you use this refracted magnifying glass thing, you can get the thumbtack to kind of appear over the ball." Well, I saw Al K came out with something similar, and he used a round bowl with water, and he put
Nathan did a video on it, Chris.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. But he did. So he put the bowl in the water, and it had like a thing sticking on the side, and he put it in the water, and the thing on the side kind of came out. It kind of came over a little bit more of the side of the can or whatever it was on. And his argument was, oh well, look, that's refraction. That's what we're seeing here, right? It's lifting it up. So I looked at that and I said, oh well, wow, that's actually kind of interesting and neat. And I said, well, it's interesting. He's also using a round container as well. So I said, well, I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to use a round container. I'm going to use a square container. So I used a square container, and when you use a square container, that actually does not happen.
No way.
So it's a combination of the effect of water and the container that's being used.
Obviously, you're going to get refraction. You've got a medium change, though, haven't you? Right. So
right,
it's a density change.
It's a medium change, not just density.
Refraction index.
Hold on,
This
it's
is
not.
all
Hold on.
how light bends and all that lensing.
It's not a density change. A very specific.
Well, you're
medium,
right, Nathan. Yeah,
medium.
you're right. But that is a density change as well. When you change mediums, usually the mediums are different densities.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
But I'd like to say something about the Black Swan. What they're having to say now, and I think this makes them look really bad, is among other things, they're having to say at that 15 miles or 10 miles that the apparent horizon is, that the light is at an angle, on an upward angle, and then has to bend down and come into the viewer's view at whatever viewer height that is, so 1 foot or 4 foot, at a tangent. And they're openly having to say that because there's no other way for that viewer to see that apparent horizon that far. And my second point about the black swan is if the oil rig at 9 miles was refracting so bad to make those flare tips or cranes bend like that, then the horizon past it would look a lot worse than what it does. It wouldn't be as clear and crisp. I think it's a heat source on the oil rig that's making that, that air on the oil rig or near the oil rig is a different temperature. So that's giving you that distortion.
Sure, if you presuppose it's a physical sphere edge and therefore you can apply some sort of distortion to that physical sphere edge, then yeah, you're absolutely right. If it's distorting the cranes, it would be distorting the horizon. The reality is obviously it's not a physical location, so you can't distort it like you can distort the cranes with a bit of atmospheric refraction.
They're openly saying you need a geometric horizon to have the apparent horizon, but they're also saying that you never see it and you really can't measure it unless you use the formulas that are given with the given radius, which is, they're using their given radius to prove their radius, so you can't do it.
Yeah, circular reasoning. And as Chocolate would say, still on the panel,
yeah.
As Chocolate would say, if you can't see it, it's not a horizon. A horizon is an apparent juncture between Earth and sky, or sea and sky. So you can see it. So when they say, well, our horizon's not visible, well, then it's not a horizon. It only exists as a horizon in their geometric model marked with an X and labelled horizon at the R-based point where you have a tangent, a straight line, which they also can't achieve if it's all refracted. It's great.
Exactly.
Black Swan's a great argument.
Exactly. They actually argue against their own argument and fight for our argument if you just point it out. And a lot of the audience, now some of the, most of the diehards aren't going to see it, but I think a lot of the audience members, and I had a couple of them tell me they agreed with me when I pointed that out, that they're going against their own people going, Dave is right. If we're going to argue refraction on one thing, we can't deny it on that it's happening here or whatever. So that's why I go there. I'm not trying to change Stingray's mind. I don't really care. Something's going on with that, but the people in the audience need to hear the opposing view and how they change the words around. And, every time they use apparent and things like that, it needs to be pointed out.
Dave Stingray came here and had his ass handed to him by Ranty Flat Earth. So he was asked to model one of Ranty's observations, and he couldn't do anything other than concede that the model didn't work. Now, we don't live on a model, it's a reification fallacy, but Ranty took him through the steps of showing him how his model didn't work, and he had no response to it.
Yeah, they dogged Randy pretty good yesterday. They try and demean people like that have proof, so the audience doesn't believe them. They think Ranty's stupid or whatever. Well, most of these people have not gone out and done, when they start arguing with me about observations, I ask them how many observations they've done personally, and none of them do it. So we were talking about auto levels, and I asked the lady that was, she was just dogging me and calling me names about the use of auto levels. And I said, how many minutes, seconds, or hours, or thousands of hours do you have behind the crosshairs of an auto level? And she said, none. I said, well, shouldn't you let someone else talk, But that's,
No,
I don't
you're
know,
a flat
it's
earther. You
strange.
can't talk about something you've got professional experience in because you're a flat earther.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. We're personally using them every day. I have two in my truck. Well, one in my truck right now. My other crew has one, and I have two laser levels. I mean, we use them every day. I used them this morning. And I know the limits of optics. I've seen the limits of optics personally now. I didn't know before firsthand, but now I do. And it changes day by day and hour by hour. And that's what optics is. That's what the atmospheric conditions are causing the effects, not a geometric shape. But the only time when we corner them and say, I want to know how to measure, what's the best tool? If you're telling me we can measure the density of an object and the temperature and the mass of something 239 million miles away, then tell me how the best tool to use to measure the drop angle or the drop from a tangent 5 miles away, right? Here on Earth. And they can't do it. They point up to the sky, use GPS, use satellites. No. I want to know what, for the lack of a better term, what tape measure or what tool can I use that I can go out to that physical part of the horizon that you're telling me that's 5 miles away, that's blocking 6 feet of my boat, and measure down 6 feet from a tangent. I should be able to do that, right? And they have no answer. It's a song and dance at that point, or they go to the moon. I call it going to the moon, because every time you get them in a corner, they go straight to the moon.
And you're right. If this is the crux of the argument, if we lived on a sphere, it'd be really easy to demonstrate. It'd be really easy to measure the drop. It would be visually obvious, always, as opposed to going to the moon, as you put it.
Yeah, if that's my point either. If we lived on a sphere at a given shape, we would have all the studies would be based on that, but they're not. All the studies and tools that are made and all the investigations, all the formulas are based on optics one way or another. Either you're assuming that you're using this tool that's going to the apparent horizon and taking an angle based on this. It's all an assumption of the sphere of a given radius. And that radius is given to us by the very people we don't trust, right? And they openly don't trust. That's what I don't get. And then their argument is measuring the radius with sticks and shadows or something like that is just hilarious to me. If people can't see through that, I don't know. And also the other point is they're putting their trust in singularity men, right? Like this one person did this 2,000 years ago, and we've based all of science on that person, right? So whoever it may be, Aristarchus or whatever, you can name 2 or 3 that they use every time for every argument. And that one person is what all of science is basing their information on. And man, that is, to me, just that is craziness. Balls in a shed, man. Balls in a shed.
You don't even know if that person.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know. Yeah, exactly. That could be a made up. I mean, seriously, you could take it as far as you want on that. But basing it on one man, they say it's not one man. It's thousands of scientists have done it over time. Yeah, but they're basing everything on what that one guy said or did or wrote down, and really didn't even want to apply it to himself, And they're really going. They really go all in on those one, that one person.
And if they really love you, after you say don't ascribe something to me after I die, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
That is, to me, one of the largest tells in the world is hey man, I'm studying this, but I really don't want it applied to my name. What? Because I'm so unsure, I'm going to openly in the public tell you I don't want it ascribed to me. And then after I die, you take my writings and publish it in my name for your benefit. That is a bad one. I mean, that is just,
I can just imagine.
Bit of a dick move.
Well, I could just
that's
imagine.
changing somebody's will, right? That's having a will and testament. I want this, house to go to this daughter and this, and then after I die, just changing it, right? You just change it up because it benefits you one way or another. That's how bad that is. That's changing somebody's will. So if he verbally and publicly said that, don't ascribe these things to me because I'm so unsure. After he died doing it is probably one of the worst things you can do, to a person.
He actually thought it could be so far-fetched, right?
Well, Dave, what you said about the guy 2,000 years ago, whether Aristarchus or even Al-Biruni, if they're going to use those guys and say what they said is proof and truth, then that geometric horizon would be at 1.22 miles, but it's not.
What you're talking about in terms of not ascribing gravity to Newton was him saying, I'll have to paraphrase it, but words to the effect of the idea that mass should attract mass without the intervention of an outside body or entity is to me so great an absurdity that, and then he lists off a list of things that seem very absurd. Like I say, terrible paraphrasing, but he essentially says, please don't ascribe this innate force to me because it's absurd. Talking about gravity.
Nathan, can you see my
I
my
got the
screen share?
quote if you want.
Oh, yes, please. That would be much better than my terrible paraphrasing of it. Yes, please, Chocolate.
Okay. It is inconceivable that inanimate brute matter should, without mediation of something else which is not material, operate upon and affect other matter without mutual contact. as it must be if gravitation, in the sense of Epicurus, be essential and inherent in it. And this is one reason why I desired you would not ascribe innate gravity to me, that gravity should be innate, inherent, and essential to matter, so that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum, without the mediation of anything else, by and through which their action and force may be conveyed from one to another, is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking can ever fall into it. Gravity must be caused by an agent acting constantly according to certain laws, but whether this agent be material or immaterial, I have left open to the consideration of my readers.
That's Newton himself in a letter to, who was it?
What was the name? I can't remember.
But as I say, it doesn't necessarily matter who the recipient was. It's merely that Newton himself wrote those words, "Please do not ascribe this gravity nonsense to me." And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.